And with that peace floating around this room and floating out to our beloveds watching the live stream, and our intention of peace going out from our hearts out to everywhere in the world that needs us to show up as peace, we center in now to a few moments of meditation. Centering in, sensing your breath. Flowing in and out. Feeling the tingle, the buzz of having connected with dear ones here in this space. Sensing that heart connection wherever you are tethered in love. Feel yourself held in these moments. Held by those beautiful fall colors that Spirit invites us to embody. May I be at peace. And say these blessings to your own heart in your silent whisper of love to you. May my heart remain open so that I am aware of my true nature. May I be healed and a source of healing to others. May I know I dwell in the very breath of God. And we offer these blessings now to those we love, those who are physically near to us, those we count now as beloved ancestors. We offer them these blessings. May you be at peace. May your heart remain open so that you are aware of your true nature. May you be healed and a source of healing to others. And may you know always that you dwell in the very breath of God. Now we offer blessings for those people and relationships and situations that we brought to our mind this morning as we held our vision. We hold our own community, our city, our nation. We hold in our heart those at war, those who are refugees from their own countries. We hold all victims of violence and injustice. We hold those in leadership at every level. And we hold those who quietly answer the call to heal, to feed, to care for those in need in any way. We hold all of that. And we say these blessings. May all beings be at peace. May our hearts remain open so that we live from the truth of our nature as one with each other. May we be healed. May we be sources of healing. And may we live in the truth that we dwell in the breath of holy mystery. As we pass around and around the peace that is all we ever have to give. And so it is. If there is to be peace in the world, there must be peace in the nations. If there is to be peace in the nations, there must be peace in the cities. If there is to be peace in the cities, there must be peace between neighbors. If there is to be peace between neighbors, there must be peace in the home. If there is to be peace in the home, there must be peace in the heart. Part 2. Last week in my talk, I closed with some homework for us, with true confessions that I was going to be away in a place that is my favorite part of nature, the ocean, where I knew it would be easy for me in many ways to find inner peace, to wake up without an alarm at 10 minutes of 6 as the sky was turning pink and walk half a block to be able to watch the sun come up over the water. Easy to find inner peace. Not always easy to find inner peace on I-90 on the way home. Right? So the trick is finding the inner peace and bringing it with me into every situation. So I invited us over the week, before we make the connection between what goes on in our own hearts and in our own intimate circles, and how we then bring that into our bigger community, into our nation, into our connections around the world. How are we called then to live as peacemakers? So how'd you do? Eh? I see some heads shaking, I hear some right? That's why we call it a practice. We practice over and over again those things that help us land in that moment where we feel the truth that we dwell in the breath of God, that we dwell and are embodiments of the Holy Mystery. It's a practice. Even Jesus had to go off into the desert sometimes to pray and get away from the crowds. So in that up and down, one of the things that I did while I was away was land again with this course I'm taking, Rooting in the Sacred. And here's a little passage. Last week I talked about self-awareness, self-compassion, and self-regulation. And it was really great to have an audio reminder of my daughter sitting here when I said, sometimes I don't live up to my aspirations. Here is this from Rooting in the Sacred. The journey of healing and wholeness is ongoing. Practice. It is both deeply personal and profoundly collective. As we tend to our own inner integration, we create ripples of healing that extend into our families, communities, and world. The invitation then that I received from this class, turn gently toward your wounds, exploring the shadows you may have avoided, and embracing the radiant wholeness already alive within you. Healing is not the absence of suffering, but the integration of it into the wider story of love and growth. Wholeness is resting fully in the beauty of who you are. Diane, we did not talk this morning about a prayer connected to the talk, but you said it beautifully. Our fallings, the falling leaves, the failings that we have. Wholeness does not mean we don't have those moments. Healing and wholeness are the integration of all of that, looking unflinchingly into those moments when we have not lived up to our inspiration and our aspiration. And finding our way back again and again. In Matthew's Gospel, we hear the Beatitudes. I'm not going to read all of it. You're all familiar with that, I'm sure. Blessed are the poor in spirit. Theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I want to focus on blessed are the peacemakers. They shall be called the children of God. It's the International Day of Peace. Why do we need a day dedicated to world peace? Haven't we figured it out yet? Not even close. Blessed are the peacemakers. In a book called The Beatitudes of Peace by John Deere, he writes, with this beatitude, the book actually kind of unpacks each of the blesseds in the Beatitudes. It's a beautiful book. With this beatitude, Jesus unpacks the connections made by the prophet Isaiah. In chapter 2 of the book of Isaiah, we read an oracle about how all the nations of the world will climb the mountain of God, sit at the feet of God, stop talking, and start listening to God. Isaiah explains how, once we listen to God, we then go back down the mountain into the world, dismantle all of our weapons, and refuse to wage war ever again. They shall beat their swords into plowshares and study war no more. All of those who have met God are called to that kind of being a peacemaker. Isaiah knows, as Jesus proclaims, that God is a God of peace. That once we meet God, we are disarmed. We are disarmed and sent forth to make peace. What does it mean to be disarmed? It's that moment that I jokingly referred to of driving on I-90 and having cars weave around me and feeling how not peaceful I am and feeling the words that come to the tip of my tongue that I will not share here today. Right? I can laugh about that humorous way of not being a peacemaker. But being a peacemaker calls us, as John Deere and many others write about, to practice nonviolence. So he writes, nonviolence sets a new boundary line for our lives. As peacemakers, we are nonviolent to ourselves, nonviolent to all others. We embrace the divine essence of all beings, all creatures, all creation, and we work publicly for a new world of nonviolence. So again, it goes back to that deeply personal and profoundly collective. We are peaceful toward ourselves and steadfastly cultivate interior peace. That practice. And maybe I loved this passage because it resonated, but it's a lesson that I have to hear over and over again. Over and over again. Cultivate interior peace. Be peaceful to those around me. And then to do my part. He lays it on the line. Blessed are the peacemakers means we do our part to make a more peaceful world because we stand up. We speak out against war. We take public action for peace. We go out into the world of violence and war and help to build up the grassroots movements that seek to end war and the conditions of war and the weapons of war. We go out then to promote dialogue and nonviolent conflict resolution. We work to end systemic injustice and the roots of war and to reconcile all peoples with one another. It is not light reading when we take to heart what it means to be a peacemaker as Jesus, the way shower, asked us to do. Archbishop Desmond Tutu is quoted in this book. This is the Archbishop's words. There is a moral universe, which means that despite all evidence that seems to be to the contrary, there is no way that evil and injustice and oppression and lies can have the last word. That is what has upheld the morale of our people, to know that in the end, good will prevail. In a situation where human life seems dirt cheap, with people being killed as easily as one swats a fly, we must proclaim that people matter, and matter enormously, To be neutral in a situation of injustice is to have chosen sides already. It is to support the status quo. Healing is not the absence of suffering. It is the integration of it into the wider story of love and growth, and we are part of the wider story of love and growth. And as it has ever been, from Jesus teaching nonviolence in the face of an oppressive empire that then inspired people through the centuries, including the ones we're very familiar with, Gandhi, and the movement for independence from Britain, Martin Luther King Jr., and our fight for civil rights here in our country, and so many other wise teachers. Desmond Tutu. The peace in Northern Ireland that was not from the government down, it was from people reaching across lines, Protestant and Catholic in that case, and finding ways in neighborhoods and communities to bridge the gap. Suffragists, abolitionists, war protests, all of those ways of showing up to say, no, not war, not this, not violence. It all begins with the inspiration we find from all of those wisdom traditions. Right action. Be a peacemaker. Do the inner work that leads to being nonviolent to ourselves. Finding the ways we talk to ourselves that we would never talk to a beloved friend. Finding those ways to be sources of healing as we look at our own wounds. Not that we bypass that we have them, that we look at them. We work the healing, emotional healing, maybe therapeutic healing. And as we heal, we then are sources of healing to everyone we meet. The kingdom of heaven is now. It's not in some faraway place in those beautiful red clouds that I watched as the sun came up in Provincetown. It's here and now. We make the kingdom alive with peace, with love, with compassion. Blessed are the peacemakers. We are embodiments of the holy mystery that is not a mystery of war. It's a mystery of peace that depends on us to add our piece to the wider picture of love and growth. It's a tall order. There are days I do it with grace, and there are days that I do it with my fingers clenched, right? It's kind of how we do it. I see heads nodding, so I'm glad to know I'm not the only one. There must be peace in the heart if there is to be peace in the home. There must be peace in our inner circles, in our homes, in those collections of friends that are on the inside, friends that become family, home that we make. And then there can be peace between neighbors, those people that we don't know intimately, but that we interact with sometimes daily, in a store, at work. And when we bring that peace to our neighbors, then there's more peace in our whole city, in the environments that we circle and that circle around us. And then we bring that also even to this nation that is so far from peaceful right now. We are called to be part of that wider story of love and healing and growth. Not to do every part, but to do all of our part. Will you do that with me?
Yes.
May we be at peace. May we be signs of peace and healing. Can we live remembering our true nature? Can we live remembering that we were formed in and as the breath of the holy mystery that many of us call God? And then we will be a source of healing and light and peace. When we show up, when we stand up, when we speak up, when we live in ways that are small and tender and ways that sometimes ask us to dig deeply into everything we have in us to pass that peace around and around. Thank you for being part of the wider story of love and growth, and for helping each other along the way, for helping me along the way. None of us can do it alone, but together we can bring peace to our city and peace to our nation and peace to the world. And so it is. Amen.